Internet, I'm B-Nuts. Good morning, and may the 4th be with you. Got lots of reflections on my glasses there. Also, I don't really need to have those on since I don't have anything to listen to. I will probably need the glasses later on. It is May the 4th, which is generally considered as Star Wars Day because May the 4th be with you. May the Force be with you. And today I just wanted to do something simple and quick, or relatively quick, which is a review and discussion of all the Star Wars books that I have. Most of them are old expanded universe or legends, though they were published before they were considered legends. And most of them I got from book sales from various libraries that I go to and work at. So you kind of know where they're sourced from. But yeah, let's get into it. Of course, some of them I haven't read, but we can discuss different things about them as well. I'll go through the summaries and my impressions of them. So let's get started. And I'll be going chronologically through through my collection according to the timeline, so that you know what to expect from me, kind of. Anyway, the first is Star Wars Republic Commando True Colors by Karen Travis, as well as the rest of this series, which includes 000. There is a third, which I do not have, called Hard Contact. It's actually the first one. 000 is the second one, and then True Colors is the third, so I didn't actually have this in chronological order, I think. Let's see if I can find it. There's this whole timeline that they used to have. If I go to the 22 to 19 years before Star Wars A New Hope, the Republic Commando series is Hard Contact 000, True Colors, and Order 66. So this is actually the second one. Did I have that right? Hard Contacts, then 000, then True Colors. Yes, and then Order 66, all by Karen Travis. I don't have Hard Contact. However, I haven't found it for sale. This series is great for getting you to care about the clone troopers and the people who deal with them. So it is an Old Republic era book. So the summary says, following the eruption of the bloody Clone Wars at the Battle of Geonosis, both sides remain deadlocked in a stalemate that can be broken only by elite warrior teams like Omega Squad, clone commandos with terrifying combat skills and lethal arsenal. For Omega Squad, deployed deep behind enemy lines, there's the same old special ops grind: sabotage, espionage, ambush, and assassination. But when Omega Squad is rushed to Crescent, the war's most dangerous new hotspot, the commandos discover they're not the only ones penetrating the heart of the enemy. The surge in separatist attacks has been traced to a network of terrorist cells in the Republic's capital, masterminded by a mole in command headquarters. To identify and destroy a separatist spy and terror network in a city full of civilians will require special talents and skills. Not even the leadership of Jedi generals, along with the assistance of Delta Squad and a certain notorious ARC trooper, and even the odds against the Republic commandos. And while success may not bring victory in the Clone Wars, failure certainly means defeat. So, I did read these books a while ago. These ones a bit more recently. There are a bunch of things that remind me how great this book is, this series, and that's because the characters have been created and developed in such a way that they do stand apart from each other, even though many of them are clones, so you do care about them, and you do have a handy dramatis personae to track them all. And some of them, including the commanders like Kal Skirata, you would care a great deal about. In this series, Skirata is the commander for the clone forces that the Omegas, the Nulls, and the Deltas, and he has basically raised the clones under Mandalorian values. And besides the clones, and the Clone Wars computer animated series did a great deal to get people to care about the clones. Because I didn't have my Stream Deck to show me that I was I don't even have my phone on to act as my Stream Deck. But so the animated Clone Wars series, as I was saying before, did a great deal to get people to care about the clones. This is probably going to freeze my camera for a moment. Oops. If I'm going to do this, here we go. Here. That's actually open. Okay. And one of the things that I mostly... am I not on the Wi-Fi? I'm only using my wireless. I like to use both. It makes things more stable. There we go. So I can keep track of whether or not my stream is doing well. Basically, signal strength wise. So now that is up there, I can see the picture. So as I was saying, the animated Clone Wars made you care about the clones as people. So does this series, but it also makes a great deal out of the Mandalorian culture. It expands it quite a bit, language, culture-wise, and it makes it clear that it's not just a culture of or a religion of where you were born or being a mercenary. It's also acceptance into a wider family. So basically, anyone could be a Mandalorian, even a Jedi, and there are some among them. Just as long as you're accepted, and as with everything else in Mandalorian culture, the kind of adoption process is pretty quick. It's very practical. Everything about the Mandalorian culture is practical. Even customizing armors and collecting them together is fairly practical. So some standout characters in here. Well, they're all pretty standout, but besides Kal Skirata, you have a whole bunch actually. And you can read this. Part of it is, of course, their names, but their registry numbers, but they also have different names and things under which they identify. So you start to actually care about them a lot more as they're described and as they get into more action. But at the same time, it's less than a page, this list of cast. So you have a fairly small cast on which to focus on, of course, comparing to other series, which may or may not be handy, but I definitely enjoyed this. Karen Travis writes really well, and when you get out to Order 66 and how the clones react to it, kind of go, oh yeah, they would do that. That aside, in 000, which is the last of 3 Republic Commando, and then you have Order 66, which is the 501st. You've got the same preamble in blue about the chaos of the Clone Wars, and it says, wait, this is the same. That's not 000. Weird. Different books, same summary. I did not read the same book twice, though. But again, same series, a lot of the same people, because they wouldn't have been killed off mostly. But they can be. The authors aren't afraid to do that sort of thing. So as an ending to the Republic Commando trilogy, it does do a lot to satisfy a lot of loose ends, and yet it's also not the end, because Order 66 comes after this one. So there is a lot more suspense in this one, what's going to happen with them, and quite a few threads get tied up. Some get left loose for further developments in other books. And as I said, Order 66 comes after this, and then Shatterpoint and a lot of the other books that would take place after Attack of the Clones, but before Revenge of the Sith. And I did quite enjoy the Republic Commando trilogy. Well, anything. I'm kind of just setting them on my floor because I don't have a lot of space elsewhere. This is my collection is taking up most of my desk in front of me. So here we have our first book by a different author. It is Star Wars Scoundrels by Timothy Zahn, and he did write this after the Thrawn trilogy, after the Spectre of the Past duology. It's a much more recent one, and I don't have them. Yeah, I don't have them, but it does remind me to bring up the other two books that he wrote afterwards, but are also prequels to everything else that happened. They are Allegiance and Choices of One. They focus on Mara Jade before she met Luke, and so most of it is her doing missions for the Emperor, and they're really well written, as Timothy Zahn's books tend to be, and great reads. But I don't have them, just like I don't have Order 66. So I can't show them to you, but I can recommend them, especially to those who are fans of Mara. And she is still my all-time favorite character in Star Wars. So Scoundrels is a book that focuses on Han Solo before he meets Luke and Leia. And he assembles this cast of characters to help him with a heist. So, more of a fun thing. So, in the flap, it says, Han Solo should be basking in his moment of glory. After all, the cocky smuggler and captain of the Millennium Falcon just played a key role in the daring raid that destroyed the Death Star. Oh, this is after the first one. And landed the first serious blow to the Empire in its war against the Rebel Alliance. But after losing the reward his heroics earned him, Han's got nothing to celebrate, especially since he's deep in debt to the ruthless crime lord Jabba the Hutt. There's a bounty on Han's head, and if he can't cough up the credit, he'll surely pay with his hide. The only thing that can save him is a king's ransom, or maybe a gangster's fortune. That's what a mysterious stranger is offering in exchange for Han's less than legal help with the riskier than usual caper. The payoff will be more than enough for Han to settle up with Jabba. I'm sure he never has to haggle with the Hutts again. All he has to do is infiltrate the ultra-fortified stronghold of a Black Sun crime syndicate, underboss, and crack the galaxy's most notoriously impregnable safe. It sounds like a job for miracle workers or madmen, so Han assembles a gallery of rogues who are a little of both, including his indispensable sidekick Chewbacca and the cunning Lando Calrissian. If anyone can dodge, deceive, and defeat heavily armed thugs, killer droids, and Imperial agents alike, and pull off the heist of the century, it's Solo's Scoundrels. But will their crime really pay, or will it cost them the ultimate price? Even that sounds like a lot of excitement. I don't remember whether the authors usually write their own blurbs for the backs, but if Timothy Zahn didn't write this, it's still brilliantly well written, the side, and then the inside, of course, is more. So I do have to correct myself. It does take place almost immediately after Star Wars A New Hope, with Han needing some money as per usual, and being his usual scoundrelly self, but he doesn't want to bring in his new alliance friends into something like this, so he brings in some of his old friends and connections in order to do this. And one thing I'm pretty sure the new Star Wars doesn't have is the Black Sun, this criminal syndicate and network that rivals the Hutts. So you know that what they're doing is serious business. And this book, as per Heist, is a lot of fun. Some of it is serious. It's, of course, Han, Chewie, and Lando doing their usual thing, with some also other very interesting characters who are in it to help, hopefully help. And written in Zahn's usual style. So you know you're in for a good time. Yeah, we got some, again, a fairly small list cast, or cast list, that it doesn't take long to read through, and then a really engaging story. And one thing that I found lacking in Chuck Wendig's first Star Wars book was I wasn't all that engaged, because it seemed obvious what would happen, and it wasn't that exciting to me. This is a lot less obvious, so I really did like it enough to buy it from the library when they were reading it. So definitely another recommend. But then again, it's Timothy Zahn. He's always recommended. Next up is the first expanded universe book. Yes, the first one. Oh, no, not out of order. I thought they were. So this is Star Wars Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and one of the first versions of it. So this takes place between also A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. So it says, stranded on a jungle planet, Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia found themselves desperately racing Imperial stormtroopers to claim a gem that had mysterious powers over the Force. Luke Skywalker expected trouble when he volunteered to follow Princess Leia on her mission to Sir Karpos to enlist the rebel underground in the battle against the Empire. But the farm boy from Tatooine hadn't counted on an unscheduled landing in the swamplands of Mimban, hadn't counted on any of the things they'd find on that planet. Hidden in the planet was the Kyber crystal, a mysterious gem that would give the one who possessed it such power over the Force that he would be all but invincible. In the wrong hands, the crystal would be deadly, so Luke had to find this treasure and find it fast. Accompanied by R2-D2 and C-3PO, his two faithful droids, Luke and the princess set out for the temple of Kamajima, and a confrontation deep within the surface of an alien world in the most fearsome villain in the galaxy. Well, the most fearsome one they knew about at the time, since they didn't really know about the Emperor yet, or not too much. Leia surely knew about him, but Luke should have been briefed definitely. So this is the first one, and the first one recognized by George Lucas. And it's a pretty big deal that he allowed other people to write in his world and expand on his universe, even if they weren't considered quite as canon as the movies. This is a fairly good adventure. It's not the best Star Wars book, but it's good to get a feel for the kinds of things that could happen later on. And Alan Dean Foster is a great, I was about to say fantasy, but he's a science fiction author, and he adapts a lot of different things into book form. So I've always enjoyed his writing whenever I find it. And this has some good conflict and development for Luke and Leia, not so much for Darth Vader. He's more of an antagonist. You don't see a lot from his view this time. But there are also a lot of characters in this. Since this is the first expanded universe book, it was published in 1978. Yes, it was. First hardcover in February 1978, the paperback in April 1978. There is no timeline here, no dramatis personae. It's just the book. And it has that Star Wars feel as well, as they're racing to get the MacGuffin. Is this the origin of the Kyber crystal too? That's later referred to as a gem that powers lightsabers. That's that one. Next up, Star Wars Tales from Jabba's Palace. Instead of one story, and written by one author, this is an anthology of short stories edited by Kevin J. Anderson, who you'll recognize later on. And it's all about different aspects of life at Jabba's palace. It centers around different characters. As you would expect, we have, because it's centered around Jabba's palace, you have a different cast, and you get to see things from different points of view. You also get to see things expanded upon that didn't get a chance to breathe much in Return of the Jedi. So, let's see, there should be a page, like a table of contents, that has a list of all of the different stories and their authors. So, because the short stories are all written by different people, they will have different qualities as well, which is both the strength and the weakness of anthologies like this. Star Wars is good? Yes, thank you and welcome, Expext. Nostalgic, yes. we've had over 30 years of nostalgia and hype for different things. And a quote at the beginning here: "If I told you half the things I've heard about this Jabba the Hutt, you'd probably short circuit." It's attributed to C-3PO or R2, but I think it's 3PO who said this. He must have said it in Return of the Jedi when they went to go into the palace. So this is a collection of short stories. There's also, I think, another one somewhere around, but I don't think I have it. But the fact that it expands on the some of the characters we know, like Bib Fortuna, Silicious Crumb, of course, is here. He's the spider monkey, pet of Jabba the Hutt. The dancer, you get to see more of the Rancor Tamer. And all these different characters who you didn't get to see much of in Return of the Jedi because they were only there for that one sequence are expanded on greatly here. There are many more exciting books in the Star Wars series, but this one gives life to some characters who you may not have thought of otherwise. So it's a good read in that. If you want more excitement, of course there is, because there are a lot of limits to what you can find in a book like this, because it's all centered around one thing, right? Jabba's palace. And we come to Jabba's palace and we leave Jabba's palace very, very quickly in Jeddah. Next, Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Squadron. Also a great series, the X-Wing series. And a great flight simulator game, if you had it way, way back then. Talk about nostalgia over here, right? And when it first came out, the game that is, I think you had to play it with just the keyboard or a joystick. You didn't have a mouse yet. But then you got it, the mouse, and you were able to bring much more into it. So, of course, let's see, does this have the timeline in it yet? It has Adrena's Personae for Rogue Squadron. No timeline, though. So, here's part of Rogue Squadron's cast list. And some of the bad guys are listed here too, if I could get this straight camera. So this not only expands on Wedge and a few of the others, but also introduces one of the most insidious villains in Star Wars history, in Hussein Izzard. And she's insane, man. But you'll also enjoy exactly how out of this world she really is. So on the back, join the most elite fighting force in space on a do-or-die mission only the X-Wings would dare. They are sleek, swift, and deadly. They are the X-Wing fighters, and as the struggle races across the vastness of space, the fearless men and women who pilot them risk both their lives and their machines. Their mission, to defend the Rebel Alliance against a still powerful and battle-hardened Imperial foe in a last-ditch effort to control the stars. X-Wing Rogue Squadron. Its very name strikes fear into enemy hearts, so when Rebel hero Wedge Antilles rebuilds the legendary Rogue Squadron, he seeks out only the best, the most skilled, the most daring X-Wing pilots. Through arduous training and dangerous missions, he weeds out the weak from the strong, assembling a group of hard-bitten warriors willing to fight, ready to die. Antilles knows the grim truth that even the best X-Wing jockeys in the galaxy, many will not survive their near-suicidal missions. But when Rogue Squadron is ordered to assist in the assault of the heavily fortified Imperial stronghold, the Black Moon, even the bravest must wonder if any of them will survive. Yeah, that's a mouthful. So a lot of the characters in here aren't Jedi. Like, I don't remember if any of them are. So you have a lot of focus here on more ordinary people as they're building or rebuilding Rogue Squadron and helping to build up uh, the Rebel Alliance into what it will become the New Republic. And this takes place after the fall of. Let's see, where do I have it on the timeline here? It doesn't actually say how long it's been since Return of the Jedi or any of those, but it's most likely after. And it is by Michael A. Stackpole, who I find is a very skilled author, and I like his books a lot. What else can I point to? Oh, yes. So, you know about Wedge probably from the movies, but there's also Tycho Kelchu, who's also a very good character. And he was also in the movies, although he didn't have a lot of spotlight on him at the time. There's also Corran Horn, and he is introduced simply as a pilot, but he also stars in a later book called I, Jedi. And the reason I want to highlight this, even though I don't think I have I, Jedi, is that it draws a highlight on a theory that different Jedi bloodlines have different strengths and weaknesses as far as their force powers go. And Corran is a good character for highlighting that. I guess spoilers for him being a Jedi, but that's something that comes out fairly quickly. Also, another thing that Michael A. Stackpole does is he does a lot that can capture the spirit of XWing and TIE Fighter. So this feels a lot more like flight simulator battles within those games than it does feel like the other books or movies, which is good because that's where this is focused. It's focused on Rogue Squadron and the other squadrons in the Rebel Alliance forces. So you get a lot more of that than you do the political side of the Alliance's struggles. And I really liked that feeling. So, as you might well imagine, it's not my only X-Wing book. The Kryptos Trap. So this is actually book 3, not book 2. Can the Rogue Squadron survive its greatest challenge yet? They're the galaxy's most elite fighting force, and as the battle against the Empire rages, the X-Wing fighters risk life and machine to protect the Rebel Alliance. Now they face the greatest challenge yet in the face of the deadliest betrayal. The rebels have taken Crescent, but their problems are far from over. The virus called the Kryptos is wiping out the indigenous population, and a counter-revolution is exploding. At the center of this storm is the highly charged treason trial of rebel hero Tycho Kelchu. While provocateur carry out their acts of terrorism, the fledgling state can be defended only by the blood and courage of the Rogue Squadron. As the X-Wing fighters scramble to save the rebellion, Corran Horn, given up for dead in Hussein Izzard's inescapable prison, discovers he alone holds the key to freeing Crescent from the Empire. So things happened in the last 2 books. And again, this is by Michael A. Stackpole. He wrote quite a few of them, I believe, but not all of the X-Wing series. And again, character expansion and development. And these books do focus more on Corran, but you also have all this drama around Tycho and Wedge that they have to counter. And then you have Murex Tarek. She's the daughter of Booster Tarek, who you might as well consider another older Han Solo, kind of, only more so. And Murex is very much in her daughter's, in her father's image in a lot of ways. She is extremely capable and definitely a top Star Wars character. Who else? There's also Pash Kraken. He's a son of one of the other famous generals. But another pirate, Iron Kraken. A lot of these different names. And then also Gavin Darklater from Tatooine, like Luke. And just like R2-D2, they also have other droids that have different personalities, so they're also characters here. Whistler is Corrin's R2, and Monarch is Wedge's R5. Of course, you also have Admiral Akbar in here. Oh yes, Iron Kraken is listed here too. And Winter. Winter, within the old canon, was Leia's childhood friend. Hang on a second, I wanted to take care of something. I am going to pause things. Yeah, handy having those transitions. Anyway, we have some very interesting characters in here and plot developments. I definitely recommend this one as well. To try to speed up a bit as people are waking up, and I have a lot more books to go through. Next up is XWing Reg's Gamble. So, it is the evil heart of a battered and reeling empire, Crescent, the giant city world from whose massive towers the Imperial High Command directs the war. The rebels will invade this mighty citadel in a daring move to bring the empire to its knees. But first, Wedge and Tillington, the X-Wing pilots, must infiltrate Crescent to gain vital intelligence information. Capture means death or worse, enslavement by the vicious leader known as Iceheart. Izan Izard, now Emperor in all but name. And one of Rogue Squadron's own is already her slave, a traitor hidden behind a mask of innocence, working to betray both colleagues and the rebellion itself. Yeah, there's more than one. Oh, this is actually book 2. So this one comes after the Cryptos Trap, or before Cryptos Trap. Why did I not have them in the correct order on my shelf? Anyway, this has the same characters, different plot developments. So since this is before the other one that I was showing, so book 2, book 3. So I think this is the one with the big revelation, and I am speaking big. But the whole thing with Issane Izard and what she's been doing on Crescent is a lot of excitement too. I'm getting the feeling that I should talk about series together rather than separately. All right, here we are. You knew this was coming. The Empire Strikes Back, or Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising. Of course, these were all we did at the same time. And The Last Command, all by Timothy Zahn. All great books, and most likely your introduction to the Star Wars expanded universe. And I can't blame you, because these are all great books. They introduce some of the most influential and some of the best characters in all the canon, including Mara, Booster Terex, Talon Card, I think. No, Talon, I know. Booster, maybe. And, of course, Grand Admiral Thrawn. If you have not read these, what are you doing? Come on, pick them up. Read them. There's even a newer annotated version of Heir to the Empire that I have read, and it has a lot of notes in it that make things much more interesting. Most especially in the area of publication and motive, because it says, among other things, that Timothy Zahn wrote this for a silver screen feel. So he meant for it to be able to be easily adapted into a movie, even though it never was, and to give it that Star Wars feel. So reading this, it feels so much like it could have been an extremely profitable, extremely interesting, and engaging 5, 6, and 7. These are, if not the best, Star Wars books out there currently. They're pretty up there. And so, if you haven't read them, read them. If you have read them, but feel like reading them again, hey, why not? I've read them more than twice myself. And, just overall great. They deal with the nascent New Republic, what it's going to take, and in expanding a list of characters. And they change the landscape of Star Wars forever in an awesome way. So definitely worth it. So these happen later on. Jedi Search, Dark Apprentice, and Champions of the Force, the Jedi Academy trilogy. And this is by Kevin J. Anderson, which is why I said earlier that the name should be familiar at this point. So, in this trilogy, Luke has founded a new Jedi Academy on one of the moons of Yavin, and he runs into quite a bit of trouble, especially since there's some Dark Force energy he was not predicting on the moon. There's a Dark Jedi spirit, Exar Kun, extremely powerful, not a physical force he can fight, that can influence things. One of them being one of his new apprentices, Kip Durn. There's also an introduction into some various other characters, including Natasi Dala, who you see on the cover of Jedi Search. And she is an admiral who's been in charge of an installation in the middle of a group of black holes that researchers and develops new and extremely dangerous weapons for the Empire. And she doesn't know that the war is over at first. And one of those weapons, besides the prototype Death Star, which she also has, is called the Sun Crusher, a much smaller vessel that has torpedoes that can destroy entire suns, and which has a hull that's invulnerable enough to punch through ships. So, not something you generally want to go up against. Dark Saber by Kevin J. Anderson is one of the most panned books in this whole thing. Luke returns home with Han Solo, hoping to make contact with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Instead, what they find is disturbing news. The Hutts, criminal warlords of the galaxy, are building a secret super weapon, a reconstruction of the original Death Star super laser to be called Dark Saber. The planet-crushing power will be in the ruthless hands of Durga, a creature without conscience or mercy. And there is trouble on another front. Admiral Dalla, from the other books, is very much alive and in league with Paleon. He is marshalling forces to destroy the rebels. Soon they and Luke will face the ultimate test of power, one in which all the temptations of the dark side of the Force beckon. I'll be honest, I haven't read this one yet, but the fact that it uses Dalla and Paleon says a lot. It is by a good author, though. So I'll have to see one of these days why it's not very well. That's as high as I want to go with that stack. Oof. I have to go again? Give me a moment. An alarm goes off. It's not mine, though. I only have one of these. I don't have Spectre of the Past, but I do have Vision of the Future. This is number 2 in this duology. We can only call it that. So the Empire's master plan is underway. The New Republic is on the verge of civil war, and the rumor that the legendary... Ready? Oh, it's called Hand of Thrawn this time. The rumor that the legendary Admiral Thrawn has returned from the dead is rallying the Imperial forces. Now, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, and their allies face the challenges of their lives. They must infiltrate a hidden fortress filled with Imperial fanatics, rendezvous with the double-dealing Imperial commander, and journey into enemy territory to learn the identity of those responsible for an act of unthinkable genocide. But most important of all is the truth about Thrawn. In his hands, alive or dead, rests the fate of the New Republic. So this brings back not only Thrawn, the biggest thorn in the New Republic side, but also it deals a lot with Luke and Mara, as you can see on the cover there. Again, a great book. Again, partly because it's by Timothy Zahn. I folded pages. And does a lot to expand things in the story with all the different characters. Of course, you'll want to read this paired with Vectors of the Past, because otherwise you'll be a bit lost. But again, great series, great author, great story and characters. What more could you want? Well, that does bring up one thing that I don't get about the new Star Wars books. How can you not create such an exciting story? Survivor's Quest, also by Timothy Zahn, not part of any series, kind of just standalone as far as that goes, but still it hooks into all the previous stuff. After 50 years, the remains of Outbound Flight, a pioneering Jedi expedition viciously destroyed by the alien warlord Thrawn, has been found on the planet Neron. The beings who reside there wish to turn over to the New Republic the remnants of the doomed mission. Accepting the gesture will mean a long voyage into the treacherous cluster of stars, where the thousands of souls aboard the outboard flight vessel met their grim fate. Embarking on this strange and solemn journey, Luke and Mara Jade Skywalker are unaware that the gravest danger lies within the derelict walls of the outbound flight itself, as the marooned hulk yields up stunning revelations and unexpected terrors. Luke and Mara find all they stand for, in their very existence, brutally challenged. The ultimate test will be surviving the death trap carefully laid by foes who are legendary for their ruthlessness, and determined to complete the job Thrawn began, exterminating the Jedi. Another great book. And if that piques your curiosity about Outbound Flight, that is also a book by Timothy Zahn, so you can go and look that up. And Outbound Flight deals with the mission itself. It deals with the original Jorah C'baoth, who was a clone in the Heir to the Empire trilogy, or cloned in the Empire trilogy. And also Anakin and Obi-Wan make an appearance in that book. But also Thrawn's there, and that's really canonically your first time meeting him is in Outbound Flight. But here in Survivor's Quest, we have a story that's more centered around Luke and Mara and the legacy of Thrawn. How's that for legacy? Maybe that feels like I'm giving a hug, huh? Star Wars: The New Jedi Order, Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore. I'll be honest, this was my first exposure to R.A. Salvatore's writing, not one of the Drit's novels, but also extremely well written, why I was willing to pay the slightly higher price for the hardcover. And this includes kind of a map, but not really a full one. With the exciting arrival of the new Jedi Order series, new era is about to begin. 21 years have passed since the heroes of the Rebel Alliance destroyed the Death Star, breaking the power of the Emperor. Since then, the New Republic has valiantly struggled to maintain peace and prosperity among the peoples of the galaxy, but unrest has begun to spread. Tensions erupt in outbreaks of rebellion that, if unchecked, threaten to destroy the Republic's tenuous reign. Into the volatile atmosphere comes Nom Anor, a charismatic firebrand who heats passions to the boiling point, sowing seeds of dissent for his own dark motives. In an effort to avert a catastrophic civil war, Leia travels with her daughter Jaina, her sister-in-law Mara Jade Skywalker, and the little protocol droid C-3PO to conduct face-to-face diplomatic negotiations with Nom Anor. But he proves resistant to Leia's entreaties, and far more in explicitly within the Force, where a being should be is a blank space. Meanwhile, Luke is plagued by reports of rogue Jedi Knights who are taking the law into their own hands, so he wrestles with the dilemma. Should he attempt in this climate of mistrust to re-establish the legendary Jedi Council? As the Jedi and Republic focus on internal struggles and new threat surfaces unnoticed, beyond the farthest reaches of the Outer Rim, an enemy appears from outside known space, bearing weapons and technology unlike anything New Republic scientists have ever seen. Suddenly, Luke, Mara, Leia, Han Solo, and Chewbacca, along with the Solo children, are thrust again into battle to defend the freedom so many have fought and died for. But this time, all their courage, sacrifice, and even the power of the Force itself may not be enough. This is the start of the Yuuzhan Vong War. Definitely the greatest threat that the Star Wars galaxy had seen to that point, but not the greatest threat overall. Again, this is R.A. Salvatore at work. It's a great read. And some things happen which some people may not like. As for progression of characters, it does push that as well. This copy is falling apart though, so I'm not going to handle it that much. Let's see. As for the rest of the series, Dark Tide 1 and 2, Onslaught and Ruin. Take this further. Dark Tide. Perilous time for the New Republic. Just when unity is needed most, mistrust is on the rise. Even the Jedi feel the strain as rogue elements rebel against Luke Skywalker's leadership. When alien invaders known as the Yuuzhan Vong strike without warning, the New Republic is thrown on the defensive. Luke must wield all the awesome powers of a Jedi Master to defeat the gravest threat since Palpatine. As Leia Organa Solo and Gavin Darklighter, the desperate refugees in the fighting retreat from Yuuzhan Vong forces, Mara Jade Skywalker, Jedi apprentices Jason and Anakin Solo, and Jedi Knight Corran Horn find themselves tested as never before by a faceless, implacable foe determined to smother the light of the New Republic forever beneath the shroud of darkest evil. And the alien Yuuzhan Vong have launched an attack on the world of the Outer Rim. They are merciless, without regard for life, and they stand utterly outside the Force. Their ever-changing tactics stump the New Republic military. Even the Jedi, once the greatest guardians of peace in the galaxy, are rendered helpless by this impervious foe, and their solidarity has begun to unravel. While Luke struggles to keep the Jedi together, Knights Jason, Solo, and Corran Horn set off the reconnaissance mission to the planet Garki, the occupied world. There at last they uncover a secret that might be used to undermine the enemy, if and only they can stay alive long enough to use it. I haven't read through all of these. The Yuuzhan Vong War can be awkward read for some people. The Vong are big time into torture, which is one of the reasons why they stand outside the Force. But it's also a pinnacle and turning point in the entire franchise. So, if you're going to read the New Jedi Order, you're going to have to go through that, among other things. Enemy Lines 2, Rebels Stand. Luke Skywalker's daring mission to halt the Yuuzhan Vong's nefarious plot to overthrow the New Republic is struggling on all fronts, and time is slipping away for Han and Leia. Trapped on a small planet, whose rulers are about to yield to Yuuzhan Vong pressure to give up the Jedi rebels. On Coruscant, Luke and Mara Jade Skywalker have made a shocking discovery that is preventing the Vong from exerting complete control. But when the enemy tracks them down, Luke and Mara are thrust into a fierce battle for their lives. Suddenly, the chances of escaping appear nearly impossible, and in space another battle rages, one that holds ominous consequences for the New Republic and for the Jedi themselves. Just turning up the heat in there. I haven't read that one either. I think I'm on on Dark Tide as far as those go, and I really should get back to reading them. Force Heretic 2, Refugee. Swift and deadly, the Yuuzhan Vong have blasted their way across the galaxy and now stand on the threshold of total victory. Yet a courageous few still dare to impose them. Rife with hostile cultures and outright enemies, the unknown regions hold many parallels for Luke Skywalker and the Jedi searching for Zona Maseka, a living planet that may hold the key to dealing with the Yuuzhan Vong once and for all. Meanwhile, on the edge of the galaxy and in the heart of a trusted ally, old enemies are stirring. The Yuuzhan Vong have inflamed long-forgotten vendettas that are even now building up to a crisis point. And as Han and Leia journey on their quest to knit the unraveling galaxy back together, betrayal and deception awaits them. As if things couldn't get any worse, of course they'll get worse. Is the series even halfway over, you might wonder? Force Heretic Part 3, Reunion. Might be getting there. The Jedi move one step closer to saving the embattled galaxy, only to confront the formidable wall of resistance. The harrowing search for Zunima Sekat is finally over for Luke, Jason, and the others aboard the Jade Shadow. Joy turns to alarm when the living planet sends a defiant message. It refuses to follow them back to a galaxy full of war, exploitation, and misery. Neither would I. While Luke works feverishly to persuade the elusive planet to reconsider, the Vong launch a full-scale attack aimed at the heart of the new alliance. Sent to defend a major communications base, Han and Leia find themselves hopelessly outnumbered. Reinforcements are just too far away to help before everything is destroyed, so the courageous pair must now fight an unrelenting battle against staggering odds. Whether they actually survive is another matter. Now that points to a thing that I like much more in this continuity than in what we got in the canon movies, which is that Han and Leia are not only together, not only are they parents, but they're also working together on many missions. May the Fourth be with you as well, Daniel Nuggets. Thank you as well for finding me. Who's next? It is indeed Star Wars Day. Still the New Jedi Order. The Final Prophecy by Greg Keyes. To see. There's a character in one of these series. I think she's in this one. Kenna Kal-Jo. So she is a queen and a Jedi Knight. And Jason Solo's love. And she's also one-armed. Is she in this one? Just looking at the cast here. I don't see her listed. I see Tahi Vera. You have a lot of interesting characters in this series as well, which is one reason I might recommend reading through it, even though there's maybe a lot that you could be uncomfortable with the Yuzhan Vong, but the characters will help you to push you through. Not to mention, a lot of what happens later rests on what happens here. But those are books that I haven't read through yet. Star Wars Riptide by Paul S. Kemp. Another different author you might not be familiar with, but this I have read through, and it is a pretty good book. With a ship full of Sith warriors arriving in Galactic Alliance space, the fight to destroy it accidentally uncovers a deadly menace, a long-hidden group of clones, secretly created as insidious weapons capable of welding the Force and heedless of the differences between light and dark. Now the clones have escaped, and evidence suggests they are flawed by genetic disease and violent madness. Jedi Knight Jason Kor pursues the clones, hoping to heal them but prepared to destroy them. What he doesn't know is that Sith agents are hot on his heels, determined not only to recover the clones for their master, but to capture Jaden for their own dark side purposes. In a life or death battle, Jaden will confront the shocking reality that will rock him to his core and bring him face to face with the question of what makes a man and a Jedi. So another new character in here. This focuses on Jaden Kor rather than on any of the other Jedi, including Luke. Takes place, of course, after the New Jedi Order. And the timeline by this time is so expansive that it takes 3 pages. Pursue. Of course, that also includes time that's thousands of years before. Let's see. Yeah, I had a feeling, but I wasn't going to mention it until I confirmed it, Riptide comes after Cross Current, which is also a book about Jaden Korb, and I would also recommend that one. And these two immediately follow Legacy of the Force, which I don't have, I think. I don't have most of it. Actually, I do have some of it. Also, I don't have any of the Dark Nest trilogy, nor have I read that. So I can't speak to whether or not I would recommend those ones. But Crosscurrent and Riptide, if you want Star Wars books that are about different Jedi characters and still focused on the Force, definitely recommended. Let's go to here. Legacy of the Force, Inferno. This one is later on in the series. I don't have most of them. I think I have one, though. All my stuff is out of order. No, this is the only one that I have. I thought I had Sacrifice somewhere in here. Maybe I do, but it's further down. That's Millennium Falcon. So, Inferno. Luke Skywalker wanted to unify the Jedi Order and bring peace to the universe. Instead, his wife Mara lies dead in the hands of an unknown assassin. His wayward nephew Jason has seized control of the Galactic Alliance, and the galaxy has exploded in all-out civil war. Massive spoilers in this stream. With Luke consumed by grief, Jason Solo works quickly to consolidate his power and jumpstart his plan to take over the Jedi. Convinced he's the only one who can save the galaxy, Jason will do whatever it takes, even ambush his own parents. With the Rebel Confederacy driving deep into the core to attack Coruscant and the Jedi under siege, Luke must reassert his position. Only he can lead the Jedi through this crisis, but it means solving the roughest problem Luke's ever faced. Does he fight alongside his nephew Jason, a tyrant who's taken over the GA, or does he join the rebels to smash the Galactic Alliance he helped create? Of course, a lot of stuff has happened in the series before, and the titles are Betrayal, Bloodlines, Tempest, Exile, and Sacrifice. Sacrifice being the one that I thought I had. If you're going along in the story, you're going to also have to read through Legacy of the Force. I found these at the library, but if you don't hurry up, you might not be able to find them. They could be weeded, just like this one was. A bit of a challenging read when you get down to emotional stuff, but still well worth it. After all, if you're going along in the story, you're going to have to consider all and follow that. Millennium Falcon. I don't necessarily have to read you the back of this. This is where Han Solo is taking his granddaughter on a tour of the Millennium Falcon's history, basically backtracking it step by step through its previous owners, see what it's been through. I mean, the granddaughter's name is Elena Solo. And she has a pet Nexu. Not as cute as you might think, but she thinks it is. So, this also touches on the legacy of Jason Solo. It touches on, like I said, the history of the Millennium Falcon. Hello, Tavil Mies. And why, hello there. And may the 4th be with you. So I like this book because it goes backwards through the history and it shows the different kind of things that the Falcon has been a part of without pushing things too far and without feeling like it's a natural part. It feels like it's a natural extension of the story. And it also feels kind of like a road trip between a grandfather and his granddaughter. So that bit feels nice. And seeing as it goes back through the history of the Falcon, it also touches on what it was doing during Attack of the Clones. Because yes, it was there. Yes, you did see it if you noticed it during the battle. Thank you for following on Twitch to Vielmees. I do greatly appreciate that. And feel free to check out the VODs that are also on my channel. I have some reviews, I have some gameplay, and hopefully you will enjoy them. So Millennium Falcon, good read. You can read it in isolation or together with other books if you like. What do I have at the top of this pile? Pretty sure something in there. Oh. Why did I think I had Sacrifice then? Never seen that book. Looks fun. Yeah, it is a lot of fun. And I do recommend that you do try and find it to read it if you can. You might be able to find it still at the library. In which case, if your local library is doing curbside pickup at the moment, I do encourage you to try that, as well as some of the other books that I've covered. So next, this is one of the last series, I believe, in the continuum of the Skywalker story, or at least in Luke's part, and it is Fate of the Jedi Outcasts. Is this book one? Also by Aaron Alston. And that book looks awesome. So awesome. Thank you. It it was definitely a good read. This one goes into I think one of the I'm gonna look for it. Thanks. You're very welcome. one of the points besides acknowledging Star Wars Day of this stream is to share these books with people who may not have heard of them or read them so that they can. And because I do work at a public library, to encourage people to use those services because they are out there and they can help. I mean, if you're stuck in quarantine, it's definitely one thing that you can do to pick up some books and read them to entertain yourself. This one, let's see if I can remember myself what it's about. After a violent civil war and the devastation wrought by the now fallen Darth Caedus, the Galactic Alliance is in crisis. Small corners, politicians, power brokers, and military leaders converge on crossing for a crucial summit to restore order and determine the future of their unified worlds. But even more crucial and far more uncertain is the future of the Jedi. In a shocking move, Chief of State Natasi Della orders the arrest of Luke Skywalker for failing to prevent Jacen Solo's turn to the dark side and the subsequent reign of terror as a Sith Lord. But it's only the first blow in an anti-Jedi backlash fueled by a hostile government and suspicious public. Negotiating his freedom in exchange for his exile from the Jedi Order, Luke, with his son Ben at his side, set out to unravel the shocking truth behind Jacen Solo's corruption and downfall. But the secrets Luke uncovers may bring his quest and life as he know it to a sudden end. And all the while, another Jedi Knight, consumed by madness, is headed to Crescent on a fearsome mission that could devastate the entire galaxy. Are there more books that you recommend? Yes, I have lots of books that I would recommend. Earlier, I went through the Republic Commando series by Karen Travis. So these guys here, Karen Travis is a great author. She makes you care about the clones. And there are 4 of these, actually. I don't have the first one, and I don't have Order 66. And I do greatly recommend this series by her. Scoundrels by Timothy Zahn, and basically anything by Timothy Zahn is a good read. The XWing series by Michael A. Stackpole and other various authors. Hello, Shanice Reviews, and welcome, and may the 4th be with you today. So these are also great books. Again, anything by Timothy Zahn is always a good read. The Heir to the Empire trilogy might introduce you to the world of Star Wars in a really good way. Yeah. The Jedi Academy trilogy is good. It's not the best trilogy out there, but it does fill out a lot of things. And we're back up to here. So, if you ever wanted to see a Jedi on trial, this is one of those books that does that. Basically, I continue to think of it as Luke being on trial for every time a Jedi has sliced off a limb in the pursuit of justice. May the 4th be with you as well, Jace. So, another great book. It does start off the series and of Luke and Ben going on a journey, retracing Jason's steps. Hey, thank you so much. I've been kind of bored during quarantine, but now I have something to read. Excellent. I have achieved one of my objectives successfully. And let's see. What else we got? Basically the rest of the series. Omen, which has a really cool character on the front of this cover. So this continues on deep into. Two Jedi Knights have succumbed to an inexplicable and dangerous psychosis. Criminal charges have driven Luke into self-imposed exile, and power-hungry Chief of State Natasi Della is exploiting anti-Jedi sentiment to undermine the Order's influence within the Galactic Alliance. Forbidden to intervene in Jedi affairs, Luke is on a desperate mission to uncover the truth behind Jason's fall to the dark side, and to learn what's turning peaceful Jedi into raving lunatics. But finding answers will mean venturing into the mind-bending space of the Cathal Rift, and bargaining with an alien species as likely to destroy outsiders and deal with them. Still, there's no other choice and no time to lose. Trying to... In the past, a Sith starship crashed in an unknown low-tech planet, leaving the survivors stranded. Over the generations, the numbers have grown. The ways of the dark side have been nurtured, and time is fast approaching when this lost tribe of Sith will once more take to the stars to reclaim their legendary destiny. As rulers of the galaxy, only one thing stands in the way, a name whispered to them through the Force: Skywalker. So... this is the book that introduces us to the lost tribe of the Sith on Kesh. And it's interesting because we've always previously assumed, I think, that the Sith operated under the rule of 2, and yet here we have entire families of Sith, just like we have families of Jedi in Luke's Jedi Order. So, a nice little opening there. And it's by Christy Golden. Do I have a YouTube channel? Yes, I do. It's under the name of BNuts001 on that one. And I am currently streaming to both my YouTube and my Twitch through Restream. Abyss. When you look into Abyss, does it stare back? I don't know why I did an accent, or even what it was. On Crescent, an epidemic of madness is preying on the ranks of the Jedi Order, driving the Galactic Alliance to martial actions. As Han and Leia Solo, along with their daughter Jaina, join the fight to protect more stricken knights from rest, Jedi healers race to find a cure to the rapidly spreading affliction. Meanwhile, Luke Skywalker continued his quest to find the reason behind Jason's dark downfall and to win redemption for the Jedi Order, a journey that draws Luke and his son Ben to the forbidden reaches of the Maw Cluster. There dwell the Mind Walkers, those whose power to transcend their bodies and be one with the Force is as seductive as it is potentially fatal. As Luke and Ben push their Force abilities beyond known limits, they draw closer to a nexus of dark-side energy unprecedented in its power, and to an explosive confrontation with which only one master, good or evil, can emerge alive. I think, yeah. So we have two branches in this story that have been developed. One is back within the main Galactic Alliance with Han and Leia trying to protect the Jedi who are getting arrested, and to counter the madness that's spreading among them. And then you have Luke and Ben continuing their journey across the known galaxy. These plays is Tevel Mies, who's following me also on Twitch. Thank you also for joining me on YouTube. So, Luke and Ben discover a lot about Force users and Force followers throughout the time of their journey, and this is one of the books that allows them to do that, exploring into the beliefs and practices of the Mind Walkers. So again, expanding the universe of Star Wars is what they did. One of the interesting things is that from, I think, parts of the New Jedi Order, Legacy of the Force, Fate of the Jedi, all those series, they're not written by a single author. They're written by multiple authors taking turns. And one of the reasons I think they do that is to avoid burnout as they're writing, because they wrote them pretty quickly. And they're all long series. So avoiding burnout, but also working together, turns out to be a pretty interesting trick. And Abyss is by Troy Denning, so another different author. This one, again, Christy Golden, it's Allies. And here, if the cover is a bit of an indication, we have Jedi and Sith working together. I never knew there were so much different books about Star Wars. Well, Pease Plays, or Tevel Mies. Yeah, Bill Mies. There's, what did it say? Over 200 books, games, and comics within the old Star Wars expanded universe. In an entire lifetime, you'd probably take 30 or 40 years if you read through them all in a row. I haven't read through all of them. I've read through a significant portion of the Star Wars books, and I've even read some comics, but I haven't read them all. I've also played some of the games, like TIE Fighter and XWing, and Dark Forces, but I haven't played them all either. So there is a lot that is out there, and it is a real shame that Disney decided to discard most of it. I am glad that they brought back some portions of it, but I don't think they've done enough with them, and they haven't done the parts that they brought back justice. So, Allies. What began as a quest for truth has become a struggle for survival for Luke Skywalker and his son Ben. They have used the secrets of the Mind Walkers to speak with the spirits of the fallen, risking their lives in the process. They have faced a team of Sith assassins and beaten the odds to destroy them. And now the Death Squad's sole survivor, Sith apprentice Vestar Kai, has summoned an entire fleet of Sith frigates to engage the embattled father and son. But the Dark Warriors come bearing a surprising proposition, that will bring Jedi and Sith together in an unprecedented alliance against an adversary more ancient and alien than they can imagine. For in the treacherous web of black holes that is the Maw, the Skywalkers and the Sith allies will have to fight an unimaginable evil, and Luke will be rocked by a staggering truth. Things heat up into the point where Jedi and Sith must journey and work together. I like that in this book. Vestara Kai really comes to the fore. Again, you have an author like Christy Golden who's introduced new characters who influence the way the Star Wars story goes in a way that you would not have expected previously. In a lot of the journey that Luke and Ben have undertaken in mirroring Jason underlines the fact that while we have previously understood the Force, I have to go. Thanks for the recommendations. Bye. You're very welcome, Peace Plays. Do enjoy the books whenever you find them, and good luck and have fun, and may the Force be with you. So, this book, I believe, does a lot, and the entire series as a whole does a lot to, if you hadn't already considered the differences between light side and dark side and what might be in between them, to consider that maybe something exists between them, and that is the gray path or something in between. So the Force doesn't always have to be polarizing, and you don't always have to be an enemy just because you're light and they're dark, or you're dark and they're light side. So I definitely liked that bit of it, and the fact that even though they didn't completely trust them, they didn't completely trust each other, the Jedi and the Sith could find a way to work together. It reminds me of the ways in which Jedi could sometimes work together with the Mandalorians, even though they were old and traditional enemies. How many more do I have? I have 3 more, including this one. Vortex. And does it say which? Oh, it doesn't say the number. By Troy Denning, again. I'm to arrange this in the camera so that I can read it and still show it. Jedi and Sith fight side by side against an even greater foe, but how long can enemies remain allies, and how high is the price of betrayal? In a stunning turn of events, Luke Skywalker and his son Ben join forces with the Sith Armada sent to kill them, and use their combined might against the monstrous being Abeloth. But when the wounded creature escapes, the fragile armistice crumbles, and hostilities resume with the attempted assassination of Luke. On the hunt for Abeloth and on the run from the Sith, Luke and Ben find themselves trapped by a mob of angry Force adepts who care little for the difference between light and dark. With the Jedi's most famous father and son team outnumbered and outgunned, the countdown to galactic disaster has begun, and time is running out. So throughout this series, Abeloth's influence has been felt by the Jedi, and now Luke and the Sith have fought her once, but she's escaped, and they have to confront her again. And so they do have to work together, but the Jedi and Sith still don't trust each other, and they're fighting each other. And there's also a question of who Vestara Kai will side with, Luke and Ben, or her family. Again, another great book. Ascension by Christy Golden. And here we have a cover with both Ben and Vestara. And Boba Fett on the back. So let's see. As Luke and Ben Skywalker pursue the formidable dark side being Abeloth, the lost tribe of the Sith, is about to be sundered by an even greater power, which will thrust one Dark Lord into mortal conflict with his own flesh and blood. On Crescent, a political vacuum has left tensions at the boiling point, with factions racing to claim control of the Galactic Alliance. Suddenly surrounded by hidden agendas, treacherous conspiracies, if I can speak, and covert Sith agents, the Jedi Order must struggle to keep the GA government from collapsing into anarchy. The Jedi are committed to maintaining peace and ensuring just rule, but even they are not prepared to take on the combined threats of Sith power, a deposed dictator bent on galaxy-wide vengeance, and an entity of pure cunning and profound evil, hungry to become a god. And again, by Christy Golden, we amp things up again and again and again, as if she thought that we couldn't go any further. And so we have different sides that have to pick sides and go up against each other, and a whole mess, but it does increase the conflict and further the characters quite a bit. As we head towards the climax of the series known as Fate of the Jedi. Rather grand name, but it does sum it up. And yes, Boba Fett is on the back cover for a reason. And finally, I have Apocalypse by Troy Jennings. And it says, there can be no surrender. There will be no mercy. It's not just the future of the galaxy at the stake, it's the future of the destiny of the Force. In the stunning finale of the epic Fate of the Jedi series, Jedi and Sith face off, with Crescent as their battlefield. For the Sith, it's the chance to restore their dominance over the galaxy that forgot them for so long. For Abeloth, it's a giant step in her quest to conquer all life everywhere. For Luke Skywalker, it's a call to arms to eradicate the Sith and their monstrous new master once and for all. In a planet-wide strike, teams of Jedi Knights take the Sith infiltrator by swift and lethal surprise. But victory against the cunning and savage Abeloth and the terrifying endgame she has planned is anything but certain. And as Luke, Ben, Han, Leia, Jaina, that's Jagged Fell, by the way, and their allies close in, the devastating truth about the dark side incarnate will be exposed and send shockwaves through the Jedi Order, the galaxy, and the Force itself. It's the pinnacle and climax of this series that finally brings a lot to an end. And yes, it is the last book in this series, but not the last book for the Skywalkers. And again, a great little thing. And also something that had been happening for a while that I forgot about. But as per ship design, you can see the Jade Shadow, I think. It's a cool looking ship. I think one thing that has always been good is the way that ships have a distinctive look, or they should have a distinctive look, so that you can tell which franchise they're from. Even though it resembles an X-Wing, you can tell that a Viper is from Battlestar Galactica, and regardless of the mark, you know that is a Viper. You know that is an X-Wing or the Millennium Falcon. You know that is an Enterprise because of its design, and it has everything, every piece of that design is distinctive to it and its franchise. And as for this book, it does feel like a good conclusion, but it is not the conclusion. And for that, well, I don't have the book here, but I can recommend them, the other books. So the last book in the X-Wing series is called Mercy Kill, and I do recommend that as well. My brother has it, I don't. And then the last book in the Skywalker series is called Crucible, and it does wrap up quite a lot with Luke, Leia, and Han, and it can be considered the last adventure in their series. Highly, highly recommended. if you want that kind of wrap up and closure with them. But it's not the end. As I said before, I have read some of the comics, and one of the series has to deal with a descendant of the Skywalkers called Cade Skywalker. He's half pirate and half Jedi, even though he never really finished training with the Force. So he's a bit of Han, a bit of Luke, but he doesn't really tread the line of the white. And it's also a long, long time after the fall of the Galactic Alliance, with a Sith Empire again ruling the galaxy, but in a slightly different way. It has a lot of interesting things in it. It also has some interesting characters. You have Cade's two friends. I forget what his one of them is called, but the other is Delia Blue, his lover. And again, an interesting ship designs, especially for the Sith ones. They've taken the tie-in in an interesting direction too. And the antagonist of the series is a Sith who has Yuzong Vong technology fused to him, so that also takes an interesting turn. So I do recommend Star Wars Legacy, the comic book series, which explores the life and fate of Cade Skywalker. Another thing, if you like what ifs, you might want to look at Star Wars Infinities. It is a collection of Star Wars series, Star Wars short stories that are like what ifs, and it is pretty interesting. It includes one where Luke failed to destroy the Death Star, and it also includes the original The Star Wars adapted into a comic. So that's also interesting. Let's see, any other comics I can think of? No. But there, as I said before, there are over 200 books, comics, and games within Star Wars. So you can definitely find different ones that would have interesting stories for you to explore. As well as the games. Dark Forces, which I played, I think, last year, either that or the year before, introduced Kyle Katarn, who then became a book character. And he's also a very interesting character to follow. The X-Wing series doesn't really have its own character, but TIE Fighter did. The player character was named Merrick Steele, but he's kind of an insert for the player. He doesn't really have a lot of characteristics himself, apart from being an excellent fighter and potential Force user. As you continue on in the story, you can also work your way up within the Emperor's order. There are other games that you can be recommended. X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, of course, if you're into more flight simulators, as well as Rogue Squadron, which looks great and brings back the X-Wing or TIE Fighter feel. And it's more in the lines of Battlefront 2, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. What LucasArts, the video game producers, did with Star Wars games was excellent. They also have a lot of games made outside of Star Wars, such as the Monkey Island series and Dave the Tentacle, which I've always enjoyed. But some, not all, of the Star Wars games that have been made since LucasArts folded have been good. So you can definitely look into those, look into the reviews that you can find as well. But you can always go back to the classics if you want. Like, I had Dark Forces on my old computer. I don't have it set up to play here, but I could bring it back and try that again. But I wanted to share with you the books that I have in my collection and Some of them I have read, some of them I haven't got around to yet, but I do plan on to sometime. But as long as I've helped you to become more aware of these books, I feel like I've done my job. Especially as I can also push out the awareness that at least some public libraries are also doing curbside services right now, so you can look for these books as well and read them, as well as other books, other movies, other stuff that are available through the library. One that I work at, Vaughan Public Library, is a little bit more unusual in that we have more types of materials, not just books and audiobooks, but also and movies, but also games, both electronic for various consoles and board games. So you might want to look into whether or not your library has a similar kind of offering. Other than that, I'm trying to think of anything else I can share before I go off. I don't think there is. So thank you everyone for dropping in and for listening and for taking a look at all these books and for spreading the Star Wars love, because I do think that while Star Wars hasn't gotten the treatment recently that it deserves, it still has a lot of strength to it. So I think I can take it from now. So I am going to, since it's getting later, people are waking up, I think I'm going to call it here, but I will what I can do is, at least on my Twitch, I think part of my plan, I can use highlights to chop up the different reviews when I did sort of reviews, although I didn't so much review as just show. So maybe not. We'll see. But I could do that. I could make them into smaller reviews. Anyway, let's see who I can raid. But thank you all for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, found things informative, useful, and entertaining. If you liked what you saw, you can, of course, follow me on Twitter. Drop me a follow over on Twitch. I would greatly appreciate it. You will get alerts when I go live. You can like, comment, and subscribe on my YouTube. And thanks once again. Let's choose who to raid over on Twitch. Oh, I only have one person who I'm following who is live right now, and that is Shibuya Kaho, a former Java artist and now streamer. So let's go raid her. So thanks again for watching, and until the next time, please do stay safe, stay healthy, and be excellent to one another, and may the Force be with you. Bye-bye.